Good morning and welcome to Trading with Larry. It's Larry Benedict, joined by my counterpart, Eric Shamalov. Good morning, Eric. It's the day before
Morning.
Thanksgiving, and once again, the Bulls are. Dude, we're not serving turkey; we're serving bulls for Thanksgiving. So Bulls are back. It's an amazing, like, I'm looking at the market for the month, and it's very, very interesting. On a little recap for the month, which we're coming into the end of the month, uh, market was choppy all month. Market was trending lower. Volatilities were trending higher. We didn't have a day literally in the last 2 weeks plus that vol was under 20, which is surprisingly high. And literally in 1.5 trading days, they took that and completely changed the mantra, which, I honestly felt was going to happen because I've unfortunately lived, well, I'm fortunate that I live, but unfortunately lived through these market, movements that are sort of BS, where they sneak the market. I mean, this is a little bit more of a sneak than usual, especially coming off a month where we were down about 3%, and we've rallied in the last 2 days 2.5% from where we are now, and it puts us basically down 70 basis points or a little less in S&P. Dow is positive. It's turned a month that was a little bit skittish, which still may be. There's still more days into okay. And I was looking at E-mini volume, and if volume was light. It's light. I mean, they snuck this market up on 2 million E-minis over the last 2 days. So volume is light. Um, Interesting, some set of facts out of Goldman. Retail is actually selling this, which I don't even understand how that's possible. But retail has
Yep.
been net selling, which I don't know who the net
Told
buyer
you,
is, but
told you, and the hedge funds and the hedge funds took the other side of that during the sell-off.
I don't buy it. I mean, I think the hedge funds are so behind what's going on in the market. They're not. I'm not calling them non-entities, but they're not anything of what they were. Most hedge funds are multi-strat hedge funds. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of different ones, but they're what I call delta neutral hedge funds, and you know it's you know I don't see them playing a massive role in this. I also don't believe the stat out of Goldman. To be honest, I think that it may be a little bit of misinformation or delayed information. But you're in Thanksgiving. But what's weird to me is usually, and let's say I've traded legitimately 40 day before Thanksgivings. And I would say this is feeling a little bit different in the sense what I'm looking at my board, and usually today is kind of flat, lower. It kind of reverses the trend of the last couple of days, um, but not big. And we're not really seeing that, but I'm seeing big bids in puts to the downside in S&P, which is weird to me. Like there shouldn't be a lot going on today, and puts, like I'm looking at my board, every put is bid to the moon. So I don't know if we're going to come in after the opening, or what. And let's discuss a little bit of yesterday. Like yesterday was one of the weirdest actions off the opening. The S&P opened higher, literally went down 60 spoo points in a straight line in less than 5 minutes, and then rallied back 140 handles for the whole day. But a lot of that is what I discussed, these zero DTE options. Like a guy like me, I'm trading, I have to sell puts against my short calls pretty much all day. So I add to the movement because I just blast puts into the market. And yesterday we didn't have a great trading day, but we were able to sort of what I call trade out of it. But it's interesting, like the puts are bid, and I'm not understunderstanding
I,
why. And that, maybe it's to hedge, maybe it's, a false clue. But I'm not really sure. But, market, we had the durable good number, market didn't react well to it. It's interesting. I'm looking at all the numbers that are coming out, and literally they're all in line. I've never seen anything like how many weeks and months before like the government shut down that the numbers were 100% in line, you know?
I remember that one stretch where jobless claims were like exactly 212,000 for like 3 weeks, and that was the expectation. It was like right on the dot. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know to look into that, but
Well, what does that
I'm just
mean? I
looking at
mean,
initial.
every number is in line to the number. What does that mean to you?
It means it's a
Wait,
nothing.
the economists figuring out are perfect on every number. They never make a mistake. I mean, come on, you know what it is. It's basically they don't want any market disruption. And one thing I'll say out of this administration is they're not going to show you inflation ever until it's definitely uncontrollable. So, inflation numbers will be intact. Everything will be intact until it's not. So, here we sit, day before Thanksgiving, a lot to reflect on the year, an interesting year, grinding higher year. S&P back up 15, 16% after only being up 11. So S&P now up 15. It looks skittish, right? I mean, we were up 11. What if we went up to +7? What if the direction came in the other direction? You know what I'm saying? So, market's intact, year is pretty much in the book. Obviously, things can happen. There's 3 weeks left of real trading, but really not a lot. And, I'm just going to say Bulls win. The Bulls have, 2025 pretty much. I mean, it's been an interesting year, up first, then down big, massive, then, this will be the ninth straight month of a rally. Um, and that rally is probably about 20% in 9 months. So, we're averaging a good clip. But, hopefully 2026 brings a lot of surprises and, ways to make money. And yes, we have 3 weeks or obviously 4 weeks to go. But really, everything is in. But it just doesn't, listen, the market, as a friend of mine would say, the plates under the market have shifted. It just doesn't feel like literally you're going to go to your Thanksgiving dinner, okay? And what's Joey going to be talking about? He ain't talking about Bitcoin, is he? Is he every single Thanksgiving over the last 5 years or more? Bitcoin, Bitcoin. I gotta have Bitcoin, Bitcoin. This guy. My mother comes over. She's like, "How come I don't have any Bitcoin? How come I don't have any Bitcoin?" Okay, you ain't having that at this dinner. This dinner, that name isn't coming up. Okay. Then, if you look at another name that's interesting, even though it's up on the year, like 30%, Nvidia Nvidia is so far off the high that most people that have bought Nvidia are losing. Okay, they're losing big. So Nvidia for the year is up. I mean, it's had a nice year. Nvidia is up 30% for the year. And the funny thing is, it rallied 5% yesterday off the low. It was up like 20, 25. It's 1 minute away from being negative. And nobody's talking about Nvidia, the most owned stock in the United States. No stock is owned more than that by retail, right? You would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
So they're not talking about Nvidia. So what are they actually talking about? They can't be
Now,
talking.
now they're going to start talking about Google.
Yeah, but nobody's in Google. And I mean, it's owned obviously in many, many, many portfolios, but that's not a rah-rah trading stock. Okay. That's not a stock that like someone's coming to your Thanksgiving going, I bought Google. I'm just telling you, it's just not. It's not.
Maybe not this Thanksgiving, but maybe by next Thanksgiving, Google replaces Nvidia at the Thanksgiving table.
Yeah, but why would you buy Google right now when it exploded, and Nvidia has gone straight down? I mean that doesn't I mean I guess that's the trade you like. I don't know, but I mean to me that
What?
trade is going to revert back for sure. So you
What trade do you like?
missed the
What trade
Google.
do you like?
What?
I don't like that. I don't like that
Oh, I
trade,
thought you
but
just said you're going to talk about Google.
not me. But
All right, can I
listen, since
explain something? Do you know what the price of Google is? I'm just wondering if it's $362 a share, right? How much stock can a retail guy buy? Like what is he gonna buy? You know, 100 shares? Like what I'm saying is the reason why Nvidia is so tradable. And the reason why a lot of these CEOs don't split these, like, listen, wouldn't it make sense for Meta to split their stock? Let me ask you, do you think it would make sense?
I don't know. I mean, Netflix just did a
I
stock split.
understand. That's smart. I mean, it's not
Didn't help.
smart.
Help.
It's not smart over time because it becomes more of a tradable stock. But Meta, like, listen, I'm running an ETF and I have money in my ETF. I can't even buy the name. It's just so expensive to trade. Like, yeah, you can put dollars into it. Like, you want to buy $1 million, it's the same thing, whether it's a $600 stock or a $100 stock. But in a tradable format, the reason why Nvidia is much more tradable right now is it's $170. I mean, it's still high, but that stock is, you know, basically a lot more tradable than a Google, you know. And you know, I would say Google 3 months ago, dude, Google a month ago was up the same as Nvidia.
Right.
You know what Google's up on the month? What do you think Google's up on the month?
20%. I don't know. Just tell me.
25% for the month.
There you go.
Pretty good month, you know?
And
But the bottom
Nvidia's
line
straight.
is I feel stupid. Like I said on this podcast, I love Google. I love their product. I think it's far superior to anything I've seen out there in the marketplace for what I use it for. Every time my stuff doesn't even default to ChatGPT. I'm defaulting to Google generated AI on everything that I'm looking for information on. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up interesting points on Nvidia that the competition is going to come into play, and it's kind of here. Google is now, I think, uh, captivating the hearts and minds of Wall Street, and they're saying, "Hey, Google is the next Nvidia."
I understand, but then you got to ask yourself this question: is Nvidia Nvidia? There can't be. There can't really be two. There's not enough product to go around to have two behemoths at this point in time. I think what's happened is these Gemini or whatever chips are way less money. I mean, Nvidia has a problem because Nvidia controlled the marketplace. They rigged up the prices. They basically monopolized the business for a while because they were steps ahead of everybody, and now they're not steps ahead of everybody. And we've seen this. I've talked about it on the podcast with Micron Technologies, and that whole chip thing. These are a commodity resource. So the bottom line is, in the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot more players. We don't even know who they are going to be, but there's a lot of changing landscape. It's funny, Nvidia was cratering yesterday at like 169, and now it's 180 in a day. $250 billion added to the stock in less than one trading day. I mean, that's pretty amazing, you don't think?
Yeah, a lot yesterday. A lot of, I would say, a nice chunk of the up move was short covering. Short interest is a factor. was on the top of the board.
Right, but then why, if everyone's shorted, why would it have been down $8.50? Like, and then come back? I don't understand. What are you waiting for it to go to zero?
Because at the
Wait
same
a
time,
second.
if
If
you
you're short Nvidia, hold on. You're short Nvidia. You're in your pajamas in your house. Hey, this you turn your screen on. It's down 8. You're not covering anything. You're sitting there. I mean, come on. I mean, hey, the bottom line is it doesn't. When you say short interest was the factor. I mean,
it was one
I'm
of
not.
them. It wasn't the only one. It
I'm
wasn't the
not.
only one.
I know I'm
It
not
was that
disagreeing with
whether
that,
it
but
started with value.
short interest covering being a factor would really be more of a factor if the stock was ripping higher, right? To make people cover a short. So I don't know. Anyone that was short Nvidia yesterday made money. They made less at the end of the day, but during the day they made money. So I don't know, Eric. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. You
Right,
know,
I get
I'm
it.
not.
It was also with value. There was a. I feel like the trade yesterday was hard short interest covering and a real bid in value. Like home builders were up a ton. Some of the beaten down banks were up a ton, and they were up like even like in the morning. That first half hour, and you called it. You were like, the Nasdaq doesn't look good versus the S&P. That was the trade for like the first hour of the day. But even at the lows, you saw a lot of stocks thoroughly green.
I
Specifically,
gotta tell you what
we
I
were on the phone, right? We were on the phone looking at that,
Yeah, but then
and
let me ask you this: why did the S&P rinse $60 in 5 minutes yesterday?
yeah, because they were still getting out of the tech trade. You know, Nvidia Nvidia was down a lot on the Meta news.
Yeah, but dude,
So
on the first hand, you said that it was short covering and everyone's short.
I said
Okay,
partially
so
it
then
was
why would they? If Nvidia is down 8, why do they need to get out?
I didn't say it was the only thing, right? What are you saying? I don't get it.
I'm saying that the market could could not have really been short to see an extended down move. That listen, I'm telling you, we didn't even have time to freaking blink. That's how fast that thing went down. Okay.
Right.
So something was weird. And then what happens with the market, and it's very interesting, Eric. People had to sell their gamma kicked in, they had to sell. So they're selling down there. Then it reverses up and now their upside gamma gets them. So that was like this yesterday was a day that we don't see very often where you have short gamma, kicking in on both sides of the market in a big way. So that was a rare day, but like to me
How do
today,
you know what level? Like for the people watching, right? How do you? How do they determine what level on the SPX is going to trigger that gamma?
I mean, I think there's two ways to potentially look at it. One is open interest. It's really hard to judge that on zero DTE because there's a lot of trading for the day that will not be added into open interest. So I would use open interest and volumes. Okay. And the truth is, listen, I'm a short volatility, income guy. So I'm looking to bring in income. So I'm that guy. And yesterday, to be honest with you, we had to sell so many puts against our calls, and it didn't even help us. I mean, we lost money. We didn't get killed, but we lost money. And the reason why was because the puts didn't help. They didn't help enough against the short calls. But what's interesting that I'll tell you that's interesting is like if we whipped the other way, it would have been insane because then you're sided one way. You keep getting sided. So, the first move was down, then up. But it's weird today to me looking at the options on the board, the puts look extremely high relative to, pre-Thanksgiving. I don't know what that is. Maybe they're buying those to, hedge upside. I don't know, but it's just weird. And then looking, just I mean, look, I'm looking at a number, Chicago PMI looking for 46, 43.6, 43.8. Okay. The durable goods orders, they were looking for point 0.5. Guess where it came in? What do you think it came in?
No idea.
Oh,
Sorry.
how do you not know? We just talked about it. The numbers are exactly in line. Every number, point 0.5. They're looking for point 0.5, point 0.5. Chicago number in line. Every number in line. Claims in line. Everything in line. I mean, I can't, I can't believe it. But today I'm a little leery. I think the market should hold, but we're short some downside puts, and I don't feel great about it right here, just because we've rallied so extensively, and there should be some profit taking at some point. But let's talk about. It used to be your favorite.
I actually want to get back to that conversation about the gamma. I think it's very interesting. Like you mentioned open interest. So like today I'm seeing at 6,800 there's a lot of open interest.
There'll
Uh,
always be a lot of open interest at you know bold number
the
strike.
round,
Yeah, always a lot. So I mean, you can look at
and
that.
then you have right, but then at that level you also have the highest gamma, right, which is like point 0.5. So the way that I do it, I don't do it with open interest. I kind of wait for like an hour into the day before the trading day starts. Yeah, you got to use open interest. Then as the day goes on, I'm trying to look at where the gamma is highest and see where the volume is highest. And then if those are kind of juxtaposed, they're close to each
Yeah,
other,
but you
like
can't.
that will set off gamma if price kind of gets there.
Maybe, but all of the stuff that I trade doesn't show up today. So I've sold hundreds of puts this morning that are not in open interest. They're not going to be in the open interest. That's an overnight number. So how do you know? And how do you know right now if the big open interest is there that it didn't come off? You don't know. It's very, yeah, it gives you a little bit of an idea, but it doesn't give you a true broad idea of what's going on. And it's funny. I'm looking at the Nasdaq futures, and it's funny. The Nasdaq futures have rallied 7% off the low in 2 days, literally. I mean, they got down. They were at 23 and change. They're now 25 and change. I mean, that's a massive move for. I mean, what other than price? And we talked about this. This is one of our most important thing for our people out there to understand. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending, price price is everything, dude. Price is everything. That's why I was going to get to your favorite thing, okay? The thing that you were most comfortable with at 125K, Bitcoin. That is an example. Honestly, Eric, that's an example. Dude, you were. I'm telling you, you were like, I wouldn't sell a Bitcoin.
Whatever you say,
I'm just
whatever you say.
saying, you just were
Why
like,
isn't it
I
going
wouldn't
up?
sell a
Finally, you
Bitcoin.
got bullish.
Dude,
Finally, you got bullish.
listen,
I got excited that you got bullish and it's not going up. What's going on, man?
what are you talking about? Dude, I told you that I got out of that. Okay. And then
Yeah.
I said longer term, I'm bullish. I traded it, made money. I'm in this dumb MSTR, which is, I've got to make a decision if I'm rolling that position, but I think it's broken. But my point is, all I'm saying, and you can deny it and whatever. Listen, I make losing trades every day. I've made losing trades for 40 years. I can accept it. It sucks. It's part of what we do, but you got to accept it. Okay. But when Bitcoin was 120,000, I'm not going to come on and say, "Oh, you were bullet, whatever." But you were very comfortable. You didn't
I'm
never.
always
But
Bitcoin.
I'm saying, but
I'm
you never thought Bitcoin was going to 90 or even 100 or 105. Okay. And
I saw
now,
no trade
time
position
out,
side at
time
the
out.
same
Now
time.
Bitcoin is at 86. 86,000 and it can't uptick, and the S&P just went up 3.5%. And usually a risk on 3.5% or 3% move in S&P is worth at least 10,000 Bitcoin points, especially after a massive fucking correction. Excuse my language. Why can't you get anything here? What is going on? Explain it to me. Is this thing that broken and that wounded that that's where we're at? I mean, literally,
I think so. I think, yeah,
dude,
I think
it's the
so.
day before Thanksgiving. This is the day before Thanksgiving, and this thing can't rally. Day before Thanksgiving. I mean, traditionally, we already had the S&P big move, okay? But I mean, you can't get an up move in Bitcoin. I mean, legit, you can't get it. Like, it can't rally to who? Let me ask you a question. Who is actually who is actually getting out here? The I think the people that have been getting out, and this has been a consolidation for multiple days, right? This is just consolidation. They're letting people get out right here. You don't agree? If you want out of Bitcoin, you can get out at 86,000 all day, every day for the last 5 days. And that's what's happening. Like the stock market doesn't give you that. Like the stock market comes crashing in, and then rather than sit on the lows for a month, Eric, it rallies. And then the guys get rewarded and they're like, oh, I don't need to get out of Nvidia anymore. It rallied. I already saw 169. I'm not selling it no matter what. Dude, that's the mantra. They're literally in there going, we're not selling no matter what. Do you understand that? No, the word no matter what is in what they're saying. But when something happens like Bitcoin, they don't have a choice. They're getting, we used to get it when I traded, at Spear Leads. You get the tap on the shoulder. Hey, buddy, you're out. Buddy, you're out. Okay. But you don't get that in equities, literally ever, because there hasn't been a move. Dude, this is a 37% down move from the high. Okay. Do you know what the biggest pullback in S&Ps has been for the year off of the April low? 5%.
5%. Yeah.
Right. So why does anyone have to do anything, Eric? 37%, you can't stay in it. So they're in Bitcoin, they got the tap on the shoulder. They've been consolidating here for at least a week, right? And it's weird. You don't think it's weird action for whatever? I'm gonna flex the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The hodl, modal, whatever. I mean, come on, dude. This is weird. I'm just telling you, it's weird action that it cannot rally, and it's worrisome. You don't think?
No, Bitcoin, I think, is Bitcoin and crypto, particularly. I think the air they breathe is liquidity. They need that more so than more traditional asset classes. That's why
Dude, I don't understand when you say liquidity.
for
I'm time out. What do you mean liquidity? They have plenty of liquidity. They just can't buy because they're down money. What does liquidity have to do with it?
they don't.
They
They
lost
don't.
37% of their liquidity.
Okay,
The
but they
liquidity
don't
is
have an
down because they lost 37%.
started dropping. That's why it started dropping when bank reserves started falling. That was the first canary in the coal mine, actually. So
Eric, this
I
thing
think
did not
when that
drop.
comes back
This
in, it's
thing,
going to be
listen, you're telling a fallacy. This thing did not drop. We watched it
okay.
every day. I have someone on this podcast that I wish could break in right now and be the third head here. We talked about it every day. I talked about it with him every day. I'm like, this is the weirdest trade. I don't understand. Where are the stops? Why is nobody getting out? Blah, 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 blah. It had nothing to do with liquidity. What
Okay.
liquidity? What liquidity? What do you think? They get handed money and then they just buy Bitcoin? Like, I'm just trying to understand what liquidity? Like, the bottom line, okay, so when you think liquidity is coming back in December, you don't think it's here now, but you think it's coming
That's
in
when
December.
that's when
We
I
have
think yeah
10,000 because of some
that's
liquidity.
when I
What?
yeah that's when I think Bitcoin could have its move to the upside in a big way.
Oh,
If it's going to have the move, it's probably going to be around that time.
Eric, People are down 37%. It has to do with price. If this thing was at 25,000, you'd be buying it. You would be buying it. 100% you would be buying it. Okay? And the bottom line is no one can buy it. I don't it has to do with price. It doesn't have to do with liquidity. Liquidity is gone because no one can buy it. But the bottom line is it looks to me, and again, things are weird, the markets are weird. It looks like, okay, that it's basically dried up. I mean, what was the move in Bitcoin all day and all night? 1,000 points overnight? I mean, that's, when would you see Bitcoin acting so bad with the market going straight up? Wait, they have liquidity to buy stocks, but they don't have liquidity to buy an asset down 37%. That's what you're telling me.
You know, I thought Bitcoin is so correlated to the market. That's what you always say.
I
It's
am
not correlated
All
right
right,
now, right?
listen, I'm explaining it to everyone out there, but you seem not to be listening. I'm telling you, it is very correlated to the market. What I'm telling you right now is what we're seeing, and it may end at 10 o'clock today or 11 o'clock, or it might not end today. It might end tomorrow. This is a full out liquidation of Bitcoin right here. Full out liquidation. Liquidation. Okay. That's what I'm telling you. It's coming. It's not big. It's coming in drips and drabs, but it's a full out. Listen, when a stock breaks, okay, Nvidia breaks. Let's say Nvidia breaks. Let's equate it to Nvidia. It's trading at 180. Okay, it broke down to 170. No one really needs to sell. They're holding their breath because they're up 30% for the year. But let's say Nvidia goes to 140. What do you think is going to happen to Bitcoin? To Nvidia at that point. If Nvidia traded 140, what do you think the stock would do? I'm just wondering what you think.
The question is, if Nvidia drops, what do I think Bitcoin
No,
is
if
going to do?
Nvidia went from 180 to 140, do you think the market would have net buyers or net sellers?
Sellers, clearly. I don't
Okay.
understand.
So that's the same trade you're seeing now. So usually what's happened in Bitcoin is it whooshes down, and then it comes back and then pops 5,000 or 8,000 points. Okay. That hasn't happened because there's mass liquidation. Okay. Which is more positive in the long run for this trade, but it's taking longer than expected. Okay. And now you have in my mind, you have reverse market forces. So like the S&P just went up 3%. It's not going to go up forever. Eventually S&P is going to come in. So the question is, we know Bitcoin is a risk on asset. Is Bitcoin going to leg lower when S&P is leg lower because it never legged higher? So
If
I'm
if
looking at this trade because I'm in utter shock on the day before Thanksgiving, okay, after the thing went down 37%, that no one can buy it. Nobody. So that's all I'm looking at. But I'm just trying to prove or show how price dictates market action. You're saying it's liquidity. Okay. I don't know. You have this phantom thing that you think the Fed is going to inject liquidity when Besson came out yesterday on CNBC and said they're reducing the balance sheet, continuing into 2026. That's their primary goal. But even if they're adding liquidity, why would that liquidity go to Bitcoin? And how does the Fed injecting like bank liquidity have to do with what retail is going to do? They're getting extended loans right now as much as they want at Robinhood, as much as they want. You can buy 5x MSTR. You could buy, come on, there are products all over the place. So when you say extended leverage, there's so much extended leverage in the marketplace right now. So that's just what I see. My opinion. I think there's extended margin in the marketplace. I don't think this is a liquidity thing. I think it's a liquidation thing. You don't feel like people are liquidating out of their positions? They should have done this trade at 100,000.
earlier this week, the reason you got into Bitcoin, you personally, is because the liquidations already happened. So I
Dude,
don't.
I got into Bitcoin. So I got into Bitcoin. I got in for our customers here longer term. So I want to be clear on this. Okay. On a short term basis. Okay. And it's very hard to do with options. Okay. We bought IBIT, but we sold it. We made 5,000 points. Okay. My problem is not in IBIT. My problem is in MSTR. I mean, it's
That's
not a
another
problem. I have a
different
put spread on,
together.
so I'm locked in. But I mean, this stock is the worst thing I've ever seen. I
It
mean,
is
and
100%.
and then what I don't understand, Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin every single week. You know what his average price is on Bitcoin? Want to die? I'm going to show you. Talk about bad trading. You know what his
What
average
is
is on Bitcoin?
85, 80, something like that?
No, 79,000, and he's been buying it since 2020.
So it's
He's up
80. Okay.
10% in 5 years, dude. That guy, if that was my hedge fund, I'd be getting fired. Okay. So
You know what I
this,
noticed about him? Like he never. I feel like he buys the high all the time. Like he'll
well, he
put
never
on bigger
bought the, no, he never bought the high. The high in Bitcoin was a
buys the
month and a
high
half
all the
ago.
time. When he acquires Bitcoin, he acquires more of it when it's going up, but less of it when it's down. I feel like
Do you know how much Bitcoin he bought last week? You know the answer. Zero.
zero.
Zero. Not a freaking Bitcoin. The week
That
before
that
he
that's a
loaded up.
perfect example that proves what I'm saying.
Well, no, there's an
Should he
interesting
be
reason.
buying en masse at at 80K?
No, there's a reason why. So what the reason is this. There was a premium which made no sense because this was your hodl crowd or your Robinhood crowd. They were paying 2 times and 3 times the value of the coins. So what he would do is he would listen, he had very expensive stock. He would sell his stock through preferreds, okay, and then take that money and buy Bitcoin. It made a lot of sense. He was getting double and triple the money that he was buying the Bitcoin for. But right now, that is almost at parity, meaning 1 to 1 with the value of the coin. So now he can issue stock. I mean, he could, but why would he? He was getting 2 and 3x. Now it's zero. He can't buy any more coin. So that's the thing, you know. So we'll see what happens. But my thought process with this is price. This is an example. The reason why I'm talking about it again today, this is an example of how price, and this will happen in the equity market. Obviously, I thought it could happen this month when, coming into Monday, the S&P was up 11% for the year. If it went down another 5% into December, this would have been really skittish. But now we're fine, everything's okay. But what I'm saying to you, okay, is price dictates that. That's why, listen, if you told anybody that trades Bitcoin or invests in Bitcoin, even let me ask you this. Do your OGs or whatever you call them, or the original buyers, or whoever these guys, just time out. Let me ask this question. Do the original guys not think it's a value down 37% when they sold the highs, supposedly, according to you? It's not a value. I mean, this is the crash of 1987, really. 37% is the crash of 87. So, from high to low, we went down basically that amount. So they're not thinking that's a value, even for a trade. They don't think that's a value. That's the
Uh,
scarier part. No.
I think some of them do. I mean, the people I talk to, I'm like, but they always say buy. Like the OGs will never tell you anything bearish about Bitcoin ever. So
Well,
it's
they're
not.
telling you, no, you're wrong. They told you something bearish. They sold it out.
But
That's
they
as
didn't say
bearish as you
they
could
just
be.
sold it out. They sold it out, and the reason that we know that is because you can see it on the blockchain. That's why that data is out because they see the accounts that have been around for a long time and they know how much is in there. They don't know who owns it, but they know it's an OG account and they've seen them get depleted. So that's how they know. But what they say in public is never what they're doing in private. Like they're not saying in public, hey, we want to diversify out. I mean, I know a couple of people that have said that to me. They're looking for ways to diversify out. I kind of knew that was happening already, but publicly they'll never get bearish on Bitcoin, even if they're actually selling it.
I don't know. Hey, listen, I don't know about the OGs. All I'm trying to
You're an OG, dude. You're an OG. You got Kraken heading
dude.
for IPO soon.
I'm an old man, is what I am. I have
You,
seen
you
a
don't
lot.
need
I have never seen the the market the way, I mean, it was yesterday, watching the ins and outs of the working of the market yesterday was crazy. The market out of the gate was dumping Nasdaq and buying Dow. Dow was up 270, Nasdaq was down 270. I look up, the Dow goes down 200 and Nasdaq goes up 200. I mean, that's got to just be a computer algorithm just going Zulu. I mean, it's there's no like pure trading. And then, like, listen, I'm hoping today is mellow. I mean, the problem is, like, for me, if the market goes down, I gotta be a seller. And, I don't really want to be, you know. Against the positions. But we'll wait and see how this thing plays out. Hopefully, we get a quiet day today. Obviously, the market's to buy; it always is. But it's shocking that they took the entire down month away in two. Dude, it took the entire month to go down 3%. You were there. You don't agree? The whole month it took to go down 3%. No.
Yeah, it was a begrudging mini
Wait, it
correction.
was begrudging, but volatility went to 26. How is that possible on a 3%? What's going to happen next year, or maybe the end of this year? Who knows? But what's going to happen when we have an actual correction of 10%, which is a natural thing to have happen in the market? What is going to happen?
Yeah, it's tightly wound. But this was the first time I think of the year where the market didn't like the market. I feel like bought the lows. Like hedge funds came in last week. Right? You
Eric,
just
but can I ask you something? Is
you
that a
got out
low? Is that a low?
there. Well, let me just finish the thought. Dude. Like so, they were buying on a dip. I think that was the first time this year that happened. Every other time, the market would buy the high. Like you saw a lot of volume at the high, you wouldn't see it at the low. This time around, it was a little bit different.
I definitely do not see that, number one. Okay. And if the hedge funds bought, the only time they got rewarded was on Monday afternoon into Tuesday, one trading day. Okay. So I don't see that. I think it's late in the year for hedge funds. I don't think they're putting massive bets on the table, with 3 weeks to go in the year. Okay. If you're up 12%, why are you putting a massive bet on? You're about to get paid big money. I don't see that. Okay.
Well,
What, what I
there's still a Fed meeting coming up in December, and I think a lot of market action since the October
Well, let
29th.
we have 5 minutes to go. Let's talk about that, okay, for a couple of minutes, okay?
Okay, all right.
Fed's going to cut rates, right? Now it's back on the table. Fed's going to cut rates. So the Fed cuts a quarter, okay? Let's back up to last month when the Fed cut a quarter. What did the market do?
I know where you're going with this, right? Like it doesn't matter, but here's where it matters. It matters where the market thinks one thing and then abruptly the information forces them to think something else. That's when you get big moves in the market. When a prevailing thought process is forced to flip. So October 29th at the last meeting, nobody cared about interest rates because that was all priced in. The market thought nothing would happen with that. All of a sudden, Powell comes out, says the meeting in December is live. It's not a shoe-in. And that was the top of the market. Okay. And rates started to go up. And all of a sudden, since last Friday, rates started to go back down. Probabilities of a rate cut started to go back up, and the market started to bottom out. So that's another sea change where the market thought, hey, we're getting no rate cut. All of a sudden, yeah, we're getting a rate cut and the market is rallying. So you can't really say it has nothing to do with the rate cut. It does. It's just the market changing its thought process, and as new data comes in, it's forced to do that, and
Well,
that's
can
where you get.
I let you talk, and now I want to talk. Okay. I am not understanding any of what you're saying, how there's a surprise and the market has a change. Okay. This is what's gone on. They had the meeting, okay. They cut rates a quarter. The stock market actually went down. They used one of their silver bullets. They only listen, rates in the financial crisis went to zero. Would you say that the market would have to be in a financial crisis for Fed funds to be below 2.5%? I just want to know the answer. Yes or no?
No,
Why?
why
Because
need to?
normal Fed funds is 5.25. Okay, that's average Fed funds. Why would
You
two and a half
saying
percent
rates
on
are
the
below
Fed
two
funds
point five
not
percent.
be a calamity? That things are either in a recession, a massive slowdown, the market took a hit, all of those things. I'm not even going to let you answer because those are all facts. Okay, the average Fed funds is 5.25. We're way lower than that. Okay, we've lived on zero interest rates forever. Okay, the Fed had a meeting. Out of the meeting, tell me where the probability was of a December cut. 90%, if you remember. 90% the Fed was cutting. Then all of a sudden, the mantra shifted like down to 20%. And then after Waller came out, it went back up to 60 or 70%. Okay. But this is a silver bullet. The Fed does not need to cut. It is a worthless cut. Okay. And then I'll give you a better one. Like you're going bonds this. Dude, bonds just went from 413 to 401. Okay. In the scheme, that's a decent move, but that's not a real move. If they cut a quarter, would you agree a quarter point is the least they can cut, right? That's the least, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
we didn't even get a quarter point on interest rates yet. We only got 12 basis points so far. So what I'm saying is it I don't think this is a surprise, number one, okay, at all. I don't think it's a surprise. You
But
know,
look at this chart. This white circle here. That was the last Fed meeting. You could see rates top panel ripped up. That was the high of the market. Down here's the S&P. Perfect. You talk about correlation a lot. These were like perfectly negatively correlated. Rates going higher, and that was the first time in a while where I saw rates going up and the market just trading opposite in lockstep. All of a sudden, as yeah, like you said, Waller comes out, another guy comes out, probabilities go back up. Everybody thinks, okay, the rate cut is back on the table, and the market bottoms out.
okay, but Eric, the market bottomed
It's
out this
just,
week.
it's
The
just the
market
chart.
bottomed out because of Thanksgiving week, seasonality, no one being here. And if you go back, we could run the last 40 Thanksgiving weeks, and I would tell you 39 are up. Okay. Maybe even 40. Okay. They never go down. Okay.
It
The
is a
same
nice
way
holiday.
I'm just
It is a
saying
nice.
it's just a bullish week. They have the ability to run the market up because of what we talked about, zero DTE. Okay. And no price is safe. Listen, think about what happened yesterday. It was a crazy move. Okay. You're like the one standard deviation guy. We had a two and a
Two in a
half.
row,
Well, we
two
from
days
high
in
to
a
low
row,
yesterday, we had a bigger move than the day before from high to low.
from
And
high to
and
low. Yeah.
everybody's sitting and everybody's fine. So whatever. I mean, I think let me ask you this. So, we're going to get close to wrapping and I want to wish everybody before we do a happy holiday. Enjoy the family. I thank you guys for watching and all of that and I thank you for being subscribers and I'm just thankful in general. But, the bottom line here is let's say the Fed cuts. What's their next move? Cut again? They'll go to three. Like, you don't think that there has to be a massive, like, why is the Fed cutting, Eric? Give me, just let's ask that. Why? Why? Usually they cut because the economy is weak. This, they have
I
8
actually
reasons.
that's a good question. Actually, I don't know because the last jobs report was a blowout, and
Right.
that's why the market right. It was a blowout. It was a
I'm going to
blowout.
give
By
you
the
the
way,
answer.
the biggest
I'm going to
line
give
item in that jobs report was construction jobs.
But
Construction.
I'm going to give you the answer. Ready? Donald Trump. That's the answer. Somehow he wants rates lower. These guys all want to keep their position in the Fed. They want to run for, obviously now
Back
we
on
know.
that. I got to push back on that because half of the Fed doesn't want a rate cut, and they're publicly saying
I don't know who the half is,
it.
but
They
okay.
want their job too, right? Come on, man.
I don't Eric. Come on. You just said you can't come up with a reason why they would cut. You had a double jobs number of what they were expecting. Show me slowdown.
Yeah, I
Show
don't
me
know. I
a
don't know why
slowdown.
they're cutting, but
Is the stock market slowing down? No, it's on an all-time high. Is the economy slowing down? No. Okay, so when in the history of time is the Fed cutting rates into a bubble stock market or a high stock market and an economy that's booming? Okay, or seemingly booming. So I'm just trying to understand it. And then, like I said before, each one of these quarter points, which is not a lot, okay? And we've seen them in crises do 1 full percentage point, okay, at a time, okay? Why do they want to use another quarter when they only have 7 left or 6 left? It's putting them in a really bad situation. So,
this is
I,
this I agree with 100%. 100%.
I mean,
This I
I
agree
have
with.
never
I don't know why
seen.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why they're cutting. You know,
Yes, you
is
can.
the unemployment rate ticking
Yes,
up
you
and they're
can.
afraid?
No, yes, you can. I told you why. Trump.
Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Oh, let me ask you this before we go for the holiday. Where's the Supreme Court decision? Where is it on tariffs?
On
Where is
tariffs,
it? Where is it? Never coming out?
the market has forgotten about that. That is, that's a footnote in the market in the history of the market right now.
I get it, but why? Why?
I, this
Why?
is myopic kind of millennial. You call it all the time millennial trading. Yesterday's news is yesterday. Today nobody's going to be talking about a day after a jobs report. Nobody talks about it anymore.
So then why bother? Why bother? Dude, they were running around with chickens without a head. Okay. The Supreme Court can't come out with a ruling right now.
Yeah, it's a little. Before we go, because it's 9:23, you got a question on the chat that actually I would like to hear as well, Larry.
I may not
From
be able to answer it.
you'll answer it. This is up your alley. Larry's gold is short here.
uh, I don't know. I'm kind of I got to tell you what. I'm not really focused on gold. I'm really focused on Bitcoin. I'm really focused on Bitcoin. I think it's funny because you're always like you're bearish on everything. I mean, this to me
You
is the
are.
perfect.
You're
This is
bearish.
the perfect mean reversion setup that I've ever seen.
See the bull. So
Of
the
course,
bull conquers the bear,
dude. You
and this
see
is
mine? You see mine? It's
it's
the
a
opposite. I
how
turned it upside down.
you turned it up down. I got it.
Turned it upside down. But anyway, I'm not really focused on gold. It's kind of middle of nowhere type of thing.
I got my
Um,
Wall Street card here too. This is you, by the way. This was you when you were running your hedge fund.
no, yeah, that was a long time ago, dude. I'm an old man with gray hair. I'm a grandpa. I'm just trying to compete with you. You're holding time is forever. I can't hold for 10 minutes. I'm in here hitting buttons all day like an idiot. And that's it. Anyway, I wish everyone luck today. Everyone have a great holiday. We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy the family and peace
Thanksgiving,
and have a
best
great
time
day.
of the year, folks. This is the best time of the year.
All right, later.